Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Dr. Jason Jones back with another episode of Health Made Easy. And man, I'm pumped up for today's episode because this one is near and dear to my heart, something I've fought with for a very, very long time. I'm probably the best at it now that I ever have been. Doesn't mean it never happens, but I'm definitely better than I have been in the past. And there actually was an entire book written about this topic. And what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the sugar blues, how blood sugar fluctuations affect our emotions. And I'm not talking about just being what I call hangry, meaning you're kind of cranky because you need to eat something, even though that could be part of it. You know, blood sugar changes affect the person's feelings since, its levels in the blood affect the body and the brain. Moreover, emotions have an effect on the body's ability to regulate blood sugar. This is why when you get or feel emotional, your cravings are often heightened. It's very alarming for a person to have a consistent low or high blood sugar. You definitely want to consult your doctor on what to do about your situation, and certainly be analyzed and tested to figure out what the source of that issue actually is. So when we talk about regulation of blood sugar, there are very many factors that affect the level of sugar in your blood. Every time you consume a meal, your blood sugar rises for about an hour or two afterwards. Then it drops down to a healthy level. This is for people who consume, a regulated and healthy amount of carbohydrates on a daily basis. However, some of the common factors affecting levels of sugar in the blood include things like medication, physical activity, food for sure, and amongst others. So the link between blood sugar and our emotions, what's that all about? So blood sugar directly affects your emotions. If it is unusually low, this state is known as hypoglycemia, as many of you know, and it can lead to things like confusion, anxiety-related feelings. It makes a person behave abnormally and makes it extremely difficult to go about their normal routine. When the level of sugar in the blood is extremely high, you may know that as hyperglycemia, and this can make the person surprisingly feel exhausted and fatigued. It can lead to the development of type 2 diabetes when it goes on for way too long. And when a person fails to take care of their type 2 diabetes effectively, he or she may increase the risk of developing things like depression. If this situation goes on for too long, the depression might become permanent, unfortunately. Stress is also a key factor in the regulation of blood sugar. This applies to all forms of stress, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, chemical. Stress is responsible for the release of two key hormones, namely epinephrine and cortisol, from the adrenal glands. These two are responsible for raising the glucose levels in the blood. People who are living with diabetes have a tough time when it comes to regulating their level of blood sugar in the blood. And because of that, when that person goes through higher stress, it could lead to severely higher levels of sugar in their blood. So monitoring their blood sugar in these situations is critical. So a person who suffers from either hyper or hypoglycemia should definitely seek medical assistance and guidance when it comes to making their lifestyle changes that they need to make. They could probably be thinking about maintaining a stress journal. This journal tracks not only your blood sugar levels, because you could write that down, but you could also write down what are those stressors that are happening at that time. And what this can do is it can help you combat the source without having to necessarily turn to medication as the first line of defense. So this is really advised for people who are, living with diabetes, since they are at a higher risk of experiencing mood changes. This is because the brain requires glucose to perform its top functions. And if the glucose is either extremely low or extremely high, then the brain functions are certainly altered. And the emotions are a physical sign and response to the body's situation. So I hope this made sense to you guys. Sugar blues is a real deal. There's a book out there actually called Sugar Blues. If you're dealing with these kinds of things, it'd probably be a really good read for you. Again, this is Dr. Jason Jones. We're going to sign out. I'd like to keep these short and sweet and very practical. We'll see you guys on the next podcast. You definitely want to hang in there for that one. It's going to be a really awesome one. See you later. Bye-bye.